What's up guys? Today we are going to be doing a custom bioactive for this 36 by 18 by 36. We're going to be doing a custom backdrop, showing you guys how to do it. Really this is going to be good for any arboreal species. Just have to switch up the substrate to what is preferred for the species that you currently have. So let's first get into what you're going to need. So here's just a quick look. We have our Gorilla Glue, and this is original. It is water activated, which is why we also have the mister. We have our drainage layer. These are hydro balls, but you can use lava rock or gravel, whatever you prefer for your drainage layer. And then we have our eco earth. It is moist eco earth. It's not dry. We have some cork bark. Other things you're gonna need, I would recommend getting one of these razor blade just scrapers and scrape off some of the excess if it gets like on the sides of the enclosure or on the bottom. If you drip some glue on the outside, whatever the case is, you can just scrape it off with one of these razor blades. And then of course, if you do plan on going bioactive, you are also going to need your isopods, springtails, and any plants that you want to put in the enclosure. And for my enclosure, I do have a plant to put in there, but I do have some more plants on the way. I also have vines, some flukers vines, some fake foliage while some of our plants start to grow out, leaf litter, and sphagnum moss. So first things first, we got to flip this thing on its back. Gonna put the glue in where we're going to put the backdrop, spray it with water. We're gonna set our cork bark, and once the cork bark is set, we're gonna put in the dirt, and then we're gonna let it dry. One quick note, when you do have it laying on its end here, when you pull the doors open, you don't wanna just leave them hanging. So if it's possible, do as much as you can from the top. First things first is the glue. We're gonna go close to the top, not all the way to the top, because this glue does expand. So we're gonna leave maybe about 1.5 inches from the top. We're gonna have about 4 inches of substrate and about 4 inches of drainage. So we'll be about 8 inches from the bottom, 1.5 inches from the top. Allow that glue to expand, and the rest will be all covered in glue. As you can see, the glue is starting to fill out. There are a couple of blank spots, but it'll continue to expand out a little bit. And before you spray the water, I recommend you do lay out, your general cork bark, how you want it to look on the back, just so you're prepared, because once you do spray it, you need to be quick. So we're gonna hose it down here pretty good with the mister. Make sure you got all of it wet, and then we're gonna go ahead and start placing the cork bark. It is gonna move around quite a bit. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to get it to stay in some places. You might need to prop it up, but it will get pretty firm in the first hour or so. And once you finish placing that bark, we're gonna go ahead and start throwing the eco earth on. And you wanna get as much coverage as humanly possible here, just to make sure you don't have any blank spaces. Get it inside of the cork bark, around the edges really well, and then you're just gonna go ahead and start patting it down. That does expand, so you just wanna keep pushing it down every so often. The cork's gonna still feel a little bit loose, but it will solidify. If you notice any spots like this where glue is coming up through the dirt, just add some eco earth to it and pat it down, and it'll be fine. And from here, you just keep patting it down until it stops expanding. And in about an hour, when you check it, you'll notice that the bark is pretty adhered to the back of the enclosure at this point. I recommend just letting it sit for about 24 hours before you proceed. So once you let it sit and cure, the next step is to just get the excess dirt off of the back. So we're gonna go ahead and just start wiping the back down. The loose will fall off. You don't have to be too particular here, because it will just fall off as it dries. But I do like to get as much as possible, just because it looks a little bit cleaner. Then you're gonna be left with a big dirt pile that you're gonna have to clean out, and then we're gonna move to the drainage layer. So as I previously stated, I use hydro balls, but whatever your drainage layer consists of, go ahead and dump it in. I may have forgotten in the beginning, but we do need to use mesh screen that goes on top of these hydro balls to keep the dirt separated from the drainage layer. I'm going to be reusing a screen from the same enclosure that I'm redoing the background on. So as you can see, there's still some dirt on top of it, but here's the mesh screen, and we're prepared to start adding the eco earth. I'm just going to start dumping it on. I do about 4 inches, but depending on the species that you're putting in the tank will determine how much eco earth you use. But it'll generally look like this when you're done. You just want that backdrop to meet the substrate so it looks nice and clean. And now comes the fun part, which is decorating the tank. So we start by adding some sphagnum moss to give it some color. Not only color, but it does retain humidity really well when we spray often with the emerald tree skinks. And then we're also gonna break up some leaf litter, add it in there for the isopods, play with some sticks, get a good order to the sticks, give them plenty of opportunities to climb both horizontally and vertically with the flukers vines, as well as adding some cork hides, some cork rounds, and the rest of our fake foliage while our real foliage grows out. And once you're done with that, you can stand back and admire your new enclosure.